Hi everybody. So in one of my posts earlier in the week, I spoke about why you should review things in Xero once you've done your bookkeeping. So one of the things was review your bank rec. You can review your customers and who owes you money. You can review the suppliers and who you owe money to. One of the other things you should review is your profit and loss account. So I suggest that this is something you do monthly because you're going to be doing your bookkeeping monthly. It's good to review at the end of the month everything that you've done. So let's show you where you find a profit and loss account in Xero. So if you go up to the accounting menu, and then it should be here on this very first list, about halfway down, profit and loss account. If you right mouse click on it and open in a new window, you get a new window with a profit and loss report. So any report in Xero is going to default to the financial year, the current year that you're in. Now, when you're reviewing your profit and loss account, as I say, I suggest you do this monthly. So you want to change the date range here to a month. Now let's look at last month's July. And if you're reviewing something, it's also good to compare it to previous months. And that way you can see month on month the figures, and then if something doesn't look right, it will stick out much, will stick out like a sore thumb because you've got previous months that you're comparing it to. Rather than just looking down a list of 1 month, it's hard to see if anything sticks out. So let's compare it to 3 months, and then we just click update. So obviously this is the demo company. It's got completely demo data in it, but let's assume that it's a real company, and we can look here and see that in July their sales were a lot larger than previous months. So it looks like perhaps this is a new business and they're steadily growing, and therefore that sales looks right. Now, when you're reviewing your profit and loss account, you'll know your business, you'll know your income, and you know if that looks right. Now, if you looked at your income and thought, actually, I don't think I've made £12,000 of sales, you'd want to then look into that and see what's happened. Maybe you've invoiced somebody twice, or you've entered the wrong number on an invoice. You know, you want to look into the numbers and see why it doesn't stack up. So how would you do that? In Xero, if you ever see a blue number, if you hover over it and there's a line, that means it's a clickable link. So we can drill down into that number and see the data that sits behind it. So if you right mouse click and again open link in a new tab, that way you don't lose this report. In the new tab, you get the drill down. And this is everything that makes up that sales figure for July. And you could look down here and see if anything doesn't look right. So let's pretend that this amount here to Ridgeway University was an invoice that we sent them at the end of July, but actually they cancelled the project before it even started, and you agreed that you could just send them a credit note or you would just void the invoice. But we forgot to do that in Xero, therefore we can go and make that amendment, and then that would bring your sales figure down to a number that you were expecting. So we go back to the profit and loss account. You'd want to do that for each line item here. So let's see what else sticks out. So advertising and marketing, £7,000. Previous months we'd only spent £1,600. So if we right mouse click, open in a new link, this will give us a list of everything that's in the advertising and marketing category, and we can see that we spent nearly £5,000 on still frame ads shown in cinema. So maybe that's some kind of video company. Obviously this is demo data, so I'm making it up now, but let's say we hired a videographer to do some filming for us, and then Smart Agency have produced us a media banner and some print mock-ups. So that looks like that's okay. Again, you would know your business, you would know whether the items in there look sensible or not. And then you just go down each line item and just check through to see if everything looks okay. So general expenses. General expenses can be overly used, okay? So if you've bought something that's out of the norm for your business and just something unusual, you wouldn't necessarily want to create a new line on your profit and loss report for something that's random and you only maybe buy once a year. So you can quite often see people throwing it in the general expenses line. The problem with that is at the year end, when your accountant comes along and has to prepare your accounts and your corporation tax, if you're a limited company, they're going to want to know what is in that general expenses, because not everything in there could be an allowable expense for corporation tax. So they may ask you to go through that general expenses account and reallocate things, or give them a list of everything that's in there, or they may do that themselves, and obviously that would cost extra money. The other issue with coding things to general expenses is it's then very hard for you to do this activity here. It's very hard to compare last month to this month if you're just lumping things in general expenses, but the next month you put them somewhere different. So if you've got something in general expenses, it's always a good idea to have a look. Again, we'll open link in the new tab and just see if it ought to sit in a different category. So what have we got here? We've got Woolworths Market, miscellaneous kitchen supplies, 24 locks, some kind of locks for the office, I suspect, and Swanscon Security, share of building, doorman, and then we've got some room hire. So those top two would probably want to be coded to repairs and renewals. The share of the building security, potentially you could post that as an office expense. And the room hire, again, you might want to post that to rent. Mind you, if you've got rent, you probably wouldn't need to hire a room. But you can see that they've got 3 different categories of cost there, all lumped into general expenses. So it's going to be really hard for you to compare month on month if you've got lots of different things in general expenses. It's always better to try and find an actual category to put them to. So let's go back to the profit and loss account. Light, power and heating. So we're spending about £100 a month, but all of a sudden we've got £200 going on in July. Now we do have cost of living crisis in the UK and your electricity probably has doubled, but for the purposes of this exercise, let's just go and check what's in there. So again, right mouse click, open link in new tab. Now we can see here there's 2 invoices, both got the date of 31st of July, both to Power Direct, both for the same amount. So I would suggest that the same invoice has been put on to Xero twice. Okay, so this is a good reason why you want to review things, because you can pick up these errors. Now there's other ways that you could have spotted this if you are reviewing your suppliers listing, so your age payables report, which shows you who you owe money to. You may have spotted this error there. Hopefully you haven't gone and paid Power Direct twice, but this is why you do the review, because you can see when things have gone on twice. So how would we now correct this? We would simply go into one item. Again, it's a clickable link, because when you hover over it, you've got this line. You right mouse click, open link in new tab. And then because this bill has not been paid yet, you can quite simply go into bill options and void the bill. Now, obviously, before you would do this, you double check 100% that this was a duplicate. But we're going to say that it is, and we've voided that bill. If we now go back to our profit and loss account and rerun that report, so if we click update, and we scroll down to light, heat and power, it's now gone back down to the £103. I'll just close these tabs. So if we now right mouse click and open link in new tab, we can now see that there's just that one invoice left. And you would just simply go down line by line and look for these errors. So what would you do if you had lots of entries and you'd notice lots of things would need moving? So let's go back to general expenses. Let's just pretend we had 25 items in here and we want to recategorize them. Now, it's going to take a long time to right mouse click on each one, open it up, go into options, click edit. This is how you could do them one by one. And you could change the expenses tab. We said repairs and renewals for this one. And you could click update. And you could go back here and then you could choose the next one. You know, that's going to take a long time to do them one by one. So if you have lots that need recategorizing, then you can use something called find and recode in Xero. So let's just open that in a different screen. So again, it's in the accounting menu. And at the bottom here, it's called find and recode. So you're going to set up some search criteria, going to tell Xero, what do you want to find? So if you click on here, find, you can add a condition. So I'm going to say, what we want to find is all those entries in that general expenses account. So the account is, and if you type in general expenses, and then just click search, it's going to pull up everything in that general expenses. Now it's gone right back to May 22. Okay, so you could, if you want to, add a condition that says a date is after, let's say our year end was 31st of March, so we want to look at anything after April. Okay, so here's everything in general expenses that's dated after April. And let's say we want to move that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Obviously, you'd look at these first. I'm just demonstrating how it works. So we want to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we want to recode them. And I want to recode them to the account repairs and maintenance. And you can click review. So it's just going to warn you. It says there's 5 items that are going to be affected, and it always warns you this may take several minutes. Obviously, if you're trying to recode 500 items, it might take several minutes, but for 5, it really won't. It'll take a few seconds. And it has now moved those 5 to repairs and renewals. It's a really super quick way of moving things around in Xero. So that is reviewing your profit and loss account, how you would run the report, how you would change things if you notice that there's an error. So you might need to delete a bill if you've put a duplicate on, or you might need to recode something. And as I say, if you do this monthly, you can keep on track of things. And every month you're going to become more and more familiar with what things are costing you. So that brings awareness to your business, to how much things are costing you, but it also makes it easier for you to spot when there are errors, because you know what things normally cost you. And if something suddenly jumped up or gone down, so for example, this, let's take this subscription here. There's nothing in July for subscription. And you might be thinking, well, I know I paid some subscriptions in July. Why are they not here? It could be that you paid for those personally and you haven't therefore put those into Xero and claimed an expense. So, for example, the cleaning here, you might pay the cleaners out of the petty cash, and you've forgotten to put that entry into the system, and therefore your petty cash tin doesn't tally up. So reviewing your profit and loss account can highlight lots of different errors, and is a really good habit to get into every month.